Hi Foxes, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, thank you so much for joining. I've had quite a few new subscribers recently, so I just wanted to reintroduce myself a little bit and say hello. My name is Brittany, and I resell clothing online. I'm pretty much a full-time reseller. I am a work-at-home mom to two little boys. My oldest is 4.5, and my youngest is about 20 months, and my oldest does go to school, to daycare, because he needs it. He is high energy, and he just has a lot of fun at daycare, and they do a lot of great things with him. And he stayed home with me until he was about a little over 2 years old, so it was nice for him to finally get to go out and, mingle with the other children. And I can already kind of tell that my littlest is getting to that age. He shows a lot of interest when I drop my older son off. So we'll see. Maybe sometime in the future I will just be a full-time reseller, not work-at-home mom. But for right now, I have my youngest son with me all day. And I resell on Poshmark primarily, and Etsy is where I sell a lot of vintage. I also have a handmade Etsy shop where I make like zipper pouches and little bags with like dog prints and pop culture prints and cats and animals, goats and all this different stuff. And that is fun, but my main passion is reselling. And I started with selling vintage many years ago and just gradually started selling more and more modern stuff after I had my first son, and it's just kind of taken off from there. My primary goal with this YouTube channel is mostly educational content. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and while I think hauls are a lot of fun and I like traditional reseller content, I feel like it's a little harder to find educational reseller content, things that are specifically geared at making you a better, more productive, and more profitable reseller. So that's sort of my goal, and I hope that you will grow along with me. Today I have a video for you. It is my 10 best sales so far in February. We have 1 week of February left, and it's been a pretty good month for me. I've been doing pretty well on Etsy, all things considered, and Poshmark has been doing pretty well for me. I haven't really had any $0 days. I had quite a few $0 days in January, which was very unusual for me, but it's sort of picked back up now. And for the most part, I get between like 3 to 5 sales a day. So these are my top 10 sales from February so far. So with all that said, we'll jump right in. My first sale is an Anthropologie tie-dye waterfall maxi dress. This was on my sort of like to be listed rack forever. I thought I might keep it for myself, but the reality is not only was it not going to fit me, but it just isn't really like ultimately my style, and if I had an occasion to go to, I would not pick it, so I decided to let it go. I could not find any other comps for it online, and so I listed it really high. It was completely silk, except for the like nylon like lace that was inset into the skirt. So I listed it at $250. It did get a lot of interest, but I didn't really have any offers on it, and like my offers to likers were not successful. So I ended up doing a number of price drops on it, and I ultimately sold it for $100. I was still happy with that. I was just kind of shooting from the hip with this one when it came to what to price it at, because there were no others available and none that had sold. And I picked this up, I think, for like $4 or $5 at Salvation Army. So I was very happy with this sale, even though it was substantially less than my original listing price. I think sometimes you just have to know that the market commands what it commands and sell it for what you can get for it. So that was on February 3rd, so that was a pretty good start to the month. Next up was a Zara floral dress. It was either linen or linen blend, and it was like a taupe color with an almost like outline motif of these different flowers. It was a larger style print. It was a midi dress, button front, and it was very pretty. It had like wooden buttons. I had to replace a couple of them, which I did. And that one sold for full asking price of $50. It did get quite a bit of attention. It was new with tags, and I paid $2 for that one, so that's pretty awesome as well. The next sale was a pair of Danskos. They were the Maria boot. They were like a nubuck suede boot with like a faux wood heel. Like the heel I think was rubber that looked like wood. It definitely wasn't real wood. I actually got these at the bins quite a while ago. I wore them myself for over a year. Obviously not every day. I don't wear the same pair of shoes every day. I have like 50 pairs of shoes, so. But I wore them for about a year, and then I sold them. I listed them pretty high, I think close to $90, because the comps on it were pretty good. I got a number of offers on them, but I ended up settling on one offer for $75. And for the other two sales that I mentioned before and this sale, there was no shipping discount. So for a bin sale, that was pretty good, $75. The next is a vintage dress. It is by the designer Alfred Shaheen, which is pretty much the only reason that I picked up this dress. I found it at the Salvation Army quite a while ago, and I sort of had this like death pile rack of vintage dresses, and a lot of them were black. This was a solid black dress, and I really liked the belt detail in the back. Like it had a big belt that went around at the back of the waist, but it was so tiny, like it wouldn't it wouldn't zip up on my size 4 dress form. It's very small. And it actually had some initials embroidered at the pocket. Now, Alfred Shaheen is known for his like bright, bold Hawaiian prints. It was branded on the inside. It had all of the tags. It was definitely an Alfred Shaheen dress. I found another one that had sold like it. But because it was black, I priced it a lot lower than I would if it had been like one of his traditional Hawaiian prints. So I think I priced it at $78, and someone sent me an offer, and we settled on $55, and it was perfect because the initials that were on the dress were actually her initials, and she was able to fit into it when it was that tiny size, and she found it. And so I was so excited to sell it to her to take a little bit less than maybe I wanted for it, but $55 was still pretty good. I don't think I paid a whole lot for it, maybe $4 or $5. And then it sold on Etsy because I forgot to take it down. So it sold on Poshmark to that buyer, and then it sold on Etsy as well. And I ended up canceling the Etsy sale because the Poshmark buyer had purchased first, and you know, she loved it and she was so excited about it, and I just felt like it was meant to go to her. So I refunded my other buyer and shipped it off to the original purchaser. She was very happy with it, totally in love. So I know I made the right choice there. And that sale did not have a shipping discount either, because it was it was an offer from the buyer to me, and then we settled on $55. So the next sale, or sale number 5, is another vintage item that was on my death pile rack, which is why you should not have a death pile rack. I am getting rid of mine. I am done with it. I have one rack that I am actively listing. Don't have a death pile. Anyway, so this was a smoking robe. So it didn't smell like smoke or anything like that, but that's just the style. And it was kind of like a muted, almost brocade satin type of robe. I think it was a men's robe, but I went ahead and said that it was, you know, it worked for unisex, and it didn't have any materials, content, or anything like that. But it did get a lot of interest, and it ended up selling with an offer to likers for $44, and I did offer a shipping discount on that one. In general, robes tend to do pretty well for me, so if you do find a vintage robe and it's nice, I would definitely recommend picking it up if you find that it's an affordable price. The next sale is another Zara piece. I actually bought a very large lot of new with tag Zara pieces. This was a white blazer. It was a tuxedo blazer, so a tuxedo blazer is going to have like satin lapels. And so this was that tuxedo style. It was a very slim lapel. It was a woman's blazer, but very like classic looking, and that did sell for full asking price of $70 within a couple of days of listing. And so since it sold for full asking price, there was no shipping discount on that. My next sale was actually a home goods item. It was a vintage hand knit king size coverlet blanket in acrylic yarn, but it was the most beautiful like fan print knit, like hand knit, and just like a number of hours that it must have taken to make this blanket. When I found it, I knew I had to pick it up. I bought it for myself, and I had it on my bed for quite a while. We have a queen size bed, so it was a little bit oversized, and my dog's nails kept kind of snagging it, so I was worried about its integrity. And so then I did a delicate wash with it, and because it is acrylic, it can also go through the dryer, so I was able to dry it. And then I listed it somewhere around, I think I had it listed for $75, and I got a very reasonable offer for $60. I had gotten lower offers on it. It did have a lot of interest on both Etsy and Poshmark, and it ended up selling for $60 with no shipping discount. And sometimes the number of hours that go into something doesn't always translate into value, unfortunately, and this was, I think, just one of those cases, but I did make sure to call out how long it must have taken and how beautifully it was knit. There were no mistakes in the knit. Yeah, it was just a really cool special piece. The next item was actually a ModCloth dress, and surprisingly enough, it was by 9 West. I know it was a ModCloth dress because it was mine. I got it from ModCloth. It was actually new with tags. I did this thing. I don't think they do it anymore. It's called the Stylish Surprise. Basically, you pay, I think, $20-ish and you get a surprise dress from them. And they usually use it to clear out stock that they have at the end of season. So there's always the chance that you might get something that was very expensive that you wanted, that you could not afford at the time, but then you get it for the $20. So anyway, it's just a fun little thing to do, and I got that through Stylish Surprise, so I knew it was a ModCloth dress. And yeah, it sold for $50. It had been listed for a while. I had it listed at $78, and I was happy to take that $50 offer. I had gotten some other offers around the $35 mark, but I just wasn't willing to go that low. All right, and the 9th sale was another vintage dress. This was actually an India cotton dress. So India cotton, it'll say on the tag, 100% cotton. It'll say made in India. And this was like that gauze type of cotton, like super soft, like kind of almost sheer, except there's so much of it that it's not sheer. And it was like that, a baby doll style, very 90s, like late 80s, 90s. I pulled it off of a rack at Savers, I believe, and I think I paid about $6 for it, and I listed it at $45. It did sell full asking price, so no shipping discount on that one. And I had modeled it, and it did get a lot of interest, and I was very happy that it sold for full price. My last sale was another Zara blazer. This one was a woven tweed style blazer. Very Chanel sort of look to it, but sort of with an edge. It had a V-neck instead of Chanel's traditional like straight opening. It did have these heavy metal gold buttons. It had gold buttons at the cuffs. It had replacement buttons on the lining because it was new with tags. And the buttons kind of went in at a V, and then there was like a double button detail in the middle. So just a very cool blazer, and it got a ton of interest. I did post it on Instagram as well. I was playing around with a new yellow background. I think that helped, but it did sell within 24 hours for $68, and I think I had it listed, I want to say around 78, because it did have a little bit of blue markings right on the side, like almost like a pin brushed against it. And I didn't want to try and clean it because it is new with tags and dry clean only. But it did retail for over $130, so I felt like that was a pretty fair price. And someone else thought so too. So it sold really quickly. And again, my cost of goods with that one was about $2, and I did not pay a shipping discount for that either. So all in all, I've had a pretty good month. Those were my 10 best sales for the month on Poshmark. This does not include Etsy. I've had some very good sales on Etsy as well. And yeah, so the moral of this story is to not have a death pile, to list what you have, and to get kind of creative with, you know, modeling and taking photos, because I think that that definitely helped. If you like this video, please do remember to hit the thumbs up button and also subscribe. I am so close to getting 1,000 subscribers. I am very excited to kind of hit that landmark and then keep going up from there. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you later this week for another update, and have a good week.